It'll be my turn next, once these suits and weapons are ready. I'll squeeze my 4 squads into one of those giant metal coffins, and hopefully the pilots will be kind enough to put us down in one piece. It's no joyride though, that's for sure.
Excuse me, what?
Since I've done this. Oh, it'll all come back quickly. Always does.
This is Ground Control, a real-time strategy game that turned 20 years old. Jeez. It was made by Massive back in the day, and it was critically acclaimed, but now it's undeservedly forgotten, and now its developer makes this. Whoa. So, what's it all about?
After the devastation of the Third
Okay, enough of that. In short, the anticipated sequel to World War series dropped to universal acclaim, and its survivors thought hard on the New World Order and chose corporate way with some cult coming along. Space program was invigorated, war was banned on Earth, but that doesn't stop two corporations fighting for a backwater planet somewhere. Got that? Good. And in this age of chaos, two factions battle for dominance. Craven Corporation and the Order of the New Dawn. Come on, way that subtle. That's all about the plot for now, because it's actually a very prominent part of the game, at least nowadays. So, what makes this game different from its contemporaries? Well, as you can see from the interface, you only command combat units. There are no workers, no resource gathering, no base or army building. There are some bases, but they mostly serve as a destructible terrain. What you have is your army that you deploy from the start. It's more accurate to call it a real-time tactics game. All of this encourages you to play carefully and methodically. This is reinforced by the terrain features. These are not just decorations like in other RTS. If there's a shadow, you can hide your troops there. If there's a hill or rough terrain, it will block your shots. Forests and foliage can act as cover for infantry. Overall, pretty solid landscape mechanics for 2000. Unfortunately, it also means that the maps are monotone and barren. Despite not being a typical single biome world, most of the maps feel the same. Plus, there's also the issue of wasted space. Then again, this could be chalked to hardware limitations than anything else. So, that's the terrain. But what about the meat? I mean the units, the factions. Unfortunately, there's barely a difference. This, in the age of chaos thing, is actually appropriate. Both factions have 3 unit difference. That's minuscule, especially since Red Alert was released in the same year. Now that's downright unfair. What is fair is the main gimmick of the game: deployment. Since you don't produce your army, you drop the whole thing in. Oh, well, sometimes. The game gives you up to 3 dropships depending on the mission, each carrying 4 units. The units can be further customized with their special weapons, abilities and above. In the campaign, your units receive medals, experience and rank. Although the biggest boon from it is just accuracy improvements. So what exactly are you commanding? Well, let's get this over with. Oh, and in addition, you also have an APC that acts as your healer and commander. If it dies, the mission fails. Try to keep it alive. So, in short, terrain and positioning matters. You can heal your units only through your commander, and your units are very specialized. Very reminiscent of tabletop wargames, as in there's a formation box, which solidifies it. It's actually pretty convenient, at least on the hard difficulties. Line should be your default on tanks. While column is good for support units, box is useless. Let's talk about the graphics. Being that maps are very barren, it certainly lost its shine pretty quickly. The terrain is either flat or was under diffuse effect too many times. And the units really show it's a product of an early 3D modeling. There is some practicality to it, like the trucks not being visible since the tank skirts obscure them, etc. But it's very dated, and it's very apparent. The effects, on the other hand, are really well made. The explosions, the weapon trajectories, the impacts, the smoke, they all look great. Honestly, they look much better and up to par to some modern games. And they are Spartan to boot. If something has an electrical discharge, that's an auto unit. If it's tracer rounds, that's Craven. It ties into the units. Certainly they all look blocky, but they are really distinctive from the terrain. You can tell from the overall shape and size what unit it is. There is no clutter. Shame the animation is stiff. Okay, let's not walk around the bush. The game is old and has a lot of problems, being one of the first of its kind. Problem 1. Friendly fire. Certainly it enhances the tactical aspect of the game, but it's really annoying, especially if on the move. You have to constantly juggle between the fire priority tab, or position your units correctly, and even then it doesn't save from the occasional shot in the back. It really pissed me off. From what I understood, they didn't have the memory capacity to program units to not fire while the friendly units or terrain is in the way, but they ultimately leave it in as is. Problem 2. Dumbfire. What I mean by that is that the special weapons that your units have are all based on direct fire. If it's in range, then they shoot it right away. Considering there's also a friendly fire, that's how you know
will go free.
Squad 6 lost.
Problem 3 is pathfinding. Infantry in particular is very prone to faulty pathfinding, especially if it's on the move with the other units. Sometimes they do this, or this. These flaws are very prominent and frustrating to deal with, but at the end of the day, it's a very curious relic of a game. In being the Massive's first, it's certainly a good piece of video game history. Oh, speaking of story...
Hello, Major. I'm glad you could finally make it in this morning. Briefing was scheduled for 8 standard minutes ago.
The first campaign stars Major Parker, voiced by Jennifer Hale, who sounds a lot more younger, in Canadian. And she gets her objectives from very obviously malicious corporate woman named Rika. Sometimes it's mundane stuff, sometimes it's war crimes.
Sorry, darling. That building just sort of blew up, didn't it? What crappy construction.
And right in the middle of it, we have the ever-present artist. You're no fun. So it's a mad dash to get all of them for Craven and kick the Order in the nuts. Then you find the biggest one and flush the cultists out.
Ground and we sent them packing. We really did it. After all that you've been through, I'm recommending all of you for combat bonuses.
What a cheapskate.
We have failed. Failed the Order, failed God, who is the promise of a new dawn. Failed ourselves.
The second campaign stars Deacon Stone, who is voiced by D. Bradley Baker, as in...
Watch those wrist rockets! Droid! Watch out! We'll have to find our way in! Scrapped!
Doesn't sound like a fanatic, honestly. He, along with his soon-deceased mentor Magnus, conduct guerrilla warfare and try to bring back the Order to the planet for assistance. Along the way, it turns out that Xenofacts are actually a transmitter for the underground cyborg army that can wipe everything in the galaxy. Oh, that original. And then the bad guy from Doom 3 comes in.
I am not happy, Deacon Stone.
You do a bunch of battles and then... the ultimate betrayal.
In the name of the sun, forget this unfortunate conflict and work together to reveal the will of God for all mankind.
I don't freaking believe this. You wanted those pillars all along, haven't you, Enrica?
Damn you to unending night, Akiri.
What a
Cannot
shock.
do this. I will not allow.
Now we've gone rogue along with Parker and tried to stop this alliance in unleashing the Cyborg army. But their main base was found and I tried to defend it. And then the inevitable happens.
Uriel awaits. But what about the Krays? They'll devour us as soon as we turn our backs. We'll never get to the Uriel with them at our heels.
You let me worry about covering the retreat, old friend. Your job is to get our people clear, and that is the last direct order I will ever give you. I swear it. This is it, Jared. I can't hold them any longer. Try to remember me this way, burning as bright as the dawn.
If Hayes and Aguirre succeed in activating the polar xenofacts, they will unleash a plague of death and fire across this entire section of the galaxy.
You sure are a charmer. A simple "we'll be screwed" would have done it.
Then you go back to the recycled match from the last campaign, kill the bad guys and plant the bomb.
Closing in on the xenofact. By all that's holy, it is huge.
We did it, Stone! We stopped them.
I told you we would.
Yes, you did.
Damn you. The whole plan was flawed from the beginning. Why couldn't we have bided our time and taken all the pillars for ourselves without forming that godforsaken alliance with the Order?
We may have lost Krieg 7B, Enrica, but we will still win the galaxy. There are some things even you don't know about.
And now we see that there is a conspiracy for power going on, involving everybody. So that's the... oh, right. The expansion. It was made by a different studio and it shows. Right here, in fact. Parker suddenly has changed. There is a new faction, Phoenix Mercenaries, but they are basically the blend of the two other factions. There are also new units, Power Arm in particular. Those are a treat. The story is trying to be some sort of a conspiracy plot going around, but it's not very well told. There are some fun missions, but most of them are just an idle slog, and bareness of the maps is really apparent. And all of this can be summarized as: you get out of the planet, you hire the mercs, and go on the merry adventure to destroy the Second Dawn. Get the ancient satellite running, and then you try to rescue Stone that got snatched in the meantime. And this.
She shouldn't have gotten in my way.
It was a trap. They were using you to break through the Craven defenses.
Now, all pawns are in place, and it is time to move the game forward.
None of this matters. No, none of this matters at all.
Since the sequel takes place hundreds of years ahead. Charming. So, in the end, would I recommend this? Well, only the base game wholeheartedly. The game is actually freeware, but there is also Steam and GOG, which is hassle-free and it can be bought for pocket change. The expansion is 50-50. And you can change the resolution by following this. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope it wasn't awful as hell.
The sky.